All right, our Xbox post show continues. Joining me now is Rod Fergusson from Blizzard. Rod, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited. Lots of good information and new things seen recently.
Yes, it's a fun weekend of games and lots of great things coming out. And in the midst of the pandemic, developers have been working hard, including all your teams, Diablo, and big news in the Xbox briefing. We have a date for D2, right?
We do, finally. Yeah, September 23rd is when it's coming out this year. Yeah, we're very excited. We did some earlier testing. We did the alpha this year, and the response to that was fantastic. And that's really what gave us the confidence to be able to go in and call our date now. And, and now that we've announced the date, we're getting ready for some multiplayer testing. So look to August for a multiplayer beta.
Yes, no, it's exciting to see that we knew it was hopefully coming this year, but it's not easy to develop these games, work from home. But I know you've got multiple teams working on Diablo projects. Before we get too deep into D2 again, give us a bit of an overview of, we obviously know you for all your incredible work over the years at Epic, BioShock and Gears. You came to Blizzard really to kind of own the Diablo franchise and oversee it. D2 Resurrected is part of it, but you're also working on Diablo 4 Immortal as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got Diablo 3 out there right now. People can play today. And Diablo Immortal, we're doing alpha testing, right now as part of with Australia and Japan and Korea. We're doing some tests with Immortal, which we're excited about, getting a lot of great response there. D2R, we just coming soon, and we hope people enjoyed seeing the little snippet of the cinematics that we've been sort of promising the remake that I haven't seen before. And now D4, yeah, we're deep in development, and we've been doing these quarterly blogs ever since we announced, and we got one coming up at the end of the month. At the end of June, we'll be focusing on characters and character art, and so we're excited to get another blog out to the community.
Amazing, yeah, it's lots of things going on, but let's move back to sort of D2 and the trailer in Xbox. Obviously coming to console, it's in the Xbox event, which is everyone excited about it. But tell me about the idea to remaster it. Obviously there's sort of the anniversary aspect, but also just the fact that the game is so legendary. I was remembering when you guys first announced it, being on a boat in San Francisco Bay for the launch party for Diablo 2 with the guys from Blizzard North at the time. When you came to Blizzard, was it already already sort of in process to some degree, right? But I'm curious about the decision to remaster it, the why and why now.
Yeah, you hit on it right away. It's just a really important game to Blizzard. It's such a phenomenal. It sort of kind of set the standard. Pretty much any ARPG you play today, you can kind of trace back and see roots coming from D2. And so it just felt like it's an important game. And as we're about to kind of have Diablo reemerge, it's almost been 10 years since Diablo 3 came out. This is going to be. We felt like this was a good step in to reignite that core audience and core fan, and sort of pay homage to that classic that is D2. And we want to do it in a really meaningful way, and so leaning in with 4K visuals and surround sound and completely remaking the cinematics shot for shot, all those sorts of things, just bringing that extra attention and making it feel very modern, but staying true to the classic that it is.
Yeah, the cinematics, we got, as you said, a glimpse of that in the trailer on Xbox, and Blizzard cinematics are in a league of their own. And you guys, this wasn't just up-resing or re-rendering, which probably wouldn't hold up a couple of decades later of Diablo 2. So the team went in and remade. How many minutes of cinematics are in this?
Yeah, it's about 27. You remember, it's the original game plus the expansion, Lord of Destruction. And so, yeah, we just felt like, we looked at it. There's been stuff done on the web. You can actually look at a YouTube up-res, and you kind of look at it and you go, that doesn't really do it justice, And so we talked about it, and even talked about, do you change the style? Do you tell the story differently? Do you use different ways of telling that story? And we just felt like, no, we have to do it and recreate it. And so, but we wanted to feel super modern and bring the fidelity of what you can do with CG in the video. So we decided to go in and just do shot for shot, not try to, have different camera angles and different characters and different way of telling the story. Just trying to take what was there and just recreate it in a modern way. I think I'm excited that people got to see glimpses of it, and I can't wait that over the next couple of months people get to see a lot more.
Yeah, no, based on even what you were showing in that trailer, it does feel like it. Just the way shots are done and everything has been sort of evolved, right, with the times. That's why I love it. Sort of inspired by, but it's not the exact pixels, right? Kind of re-rendered. You guys went in and I mean made effectively another mini movie, which must have been tons of fun for the cinematics team to sort of take. I'm sure cinematics had inspired them to come to Blizzard in the first place, and now get to do them again.
Oh yeah, we even worked with people like Jeff Chamberlain, who's there for the original, and so a lot of the stuff we can go back and say, what was your intent in that moment at that time, and we could bring that forward. And a lot of it is because it was 21 years ago. Some of that stuff is kind of muddy, it's like low res, and so going in and being able to tell more in sort of environmental storytelling, like, hey, when the exit from the sanatorium, are those beetles on the floor or spiders? And it's like, no, they're beetles. Like, and what's going on in the background of the opium den? And it's like, oh, I can actually see that now. And so it's been really kind of interesting to not only retell that story the way it was, but add some sort of like more detail into the background.
Yeah. Looks incredible, so I can't wait to see more of that. Let's get to the gameplay. You did the technical alpha test, which you guys, after you announced it at BlizzCon online, you mentioned that was coming. What was the overall kind of reaction to that? I mean, I know it was very much a test. Sometimes these things I feel like are kind of marketing activation sometimes for games, but you guys really were doing it early and getting feedback. What was the response from the fans? What has it kind of impacted or changed about the approach?
Yeah, I mean, the response was phenomenal. I mean, it just sort of, when you're going in and you're working with such a classic, you're kind of, the biggest concern is don't mess it up, right? Like, don't screw it up. Like, and so when you're making decisions about what do you keep as parity versus what's a quality of life you want to add, like, for example, auto gold pickup, like a contemporary ARPG, you walk by the gold and it sucks it up, and you're not clicking on individual coins the way you did back 21 years ago. And so we made a bunch of decisions like that. Oh, we're going to add more stash space, and we're going to have a shared stash and that kind of stuff. And we were worried, like, are we going too far? Or are we not going far enough? And so the response to the alpha was fantastic. And so we got lots of great feedback, which is what we really wanted. We wanted to hear what the players thought of what we were doing. And so we're responding to that. We heard some gameplay stuff. We heard some visuals stuff. And we even partnered with Able Gamers. And when we had some disabled gamers play so that we could make sure that we were, there's only so much you can do with a 21-year-old game, but we wanted to see, are there blockers or things we can sort of help with to make the game more accessible? So it was that kind of stuff. The feedback was great. And like I said, it sort of solidified our vision. And so that allowed us to be like, oh yeah, we feel good about shipping this year.
Yeah, and the next phase, as was teased in the Xbox trailer, is the multiplayer beta that's going to be coming in August. We saw mention of it, but can you give us any scope on sort of what's going to be in the multiplayer beta, or what can we expect?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is it's big differences from the beta to the alpha are that it's multiplayer, like it's going to be able to play online, and you're playing on Blizzard servers, so it'll be all data centers in the cloud, that kind of stuff, right? So it'll be centralized to be able to play online with friends. It's coming to console. So, in the alpha, you couldn't play on console, so you can play on console here. And we've added 2 more classes. So we're bringing the Druid and the Paladin to the class list. So now you'll have 5 classes to pick from as you play through the beta. So, and we're also going to have an early access. So if you pre-order the game, the pre-order's out now. And so if you pre-order, you'll get into the first round of beta testing. And then sometime later, we'll have an open beta where anybody can get in and play.
Oh, that's amazing. All right. So people can lock their spots in now for it in August. And as you said, that's awesome. You've got 5 classes, multiplayer content. And you mentioned console. I don't think Diablo 2 was ever on console, right? I mean, this was...
Yeah, not Diablo 2, no. Yeah. So, and we see with the success that Diablo 3 has had on console, and it's also just part of getting the game to in as many players' hands as possible. It is a classic game, and so we looked at how can we reach more gamers, because the funny thing is there are people who weren't even born when the original came out 21 years ago, right? And so we're like, how can we reach everybody or as many people as possible? And bringing it to console, allowing those players to play it, and having cross progression. So now, your characters, your loot, they're all wherever you play. And you're all sort of working towards that same progression.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great point about these remastered. Sometimes people online are like, "Why are these being remastered?" And what I say to people, it's like you, is that there are people now that weren't born when a lot of these games first came out, and it's like they're so great, and to experience them, but obviously rebirthed in such an awesome way by the developers that built them, with you guys remastering the cinematics and the core gameplay. looks incredible and holds up to this day, I think, especially with the refresh sort of visuals and sound you guys have added
Right.
into it. So yeah, it looks incredible, and I'm so glad we have a date in September. And I wanted to ask you just broadly, like, because you have all these teams and folks are working from home. Everyone tells me that things have been slowed down, definitely, just across the industry, right? With people working from home, but it feels like you guys have made a ton of progress, right? I mean, it still baffles me that even coming out of the Xbox event, people have such high expectations, right, of all these things that they think are going to be, announced or shown. And from a developer
Right.
perspective, like, what is all your teams like? Has it been slower, work from home to do this stuff, or like, what's your take on kind of the impact of all this over the past year?
Yeah, I don't think it's been like crazy slow. Like,
Right.
there are certain things that are easier. And like we found engineering, like programmers kind of do better when they're like off and they're not being distracted by the office place, as an example.
Yeah.
But there are challenges around things like dedicated hardware, like dev kits, and trying to do local co-op testing on a console, for example, is more challenging. Getting access to an audio room, specialized audio room for surround sound mixing and those types of things. So there are aspects of it, but we've seen just, we've been very much supported by Blizzard. We transitioned really quickly. I had 8 days in the office before we were at home, and people had their computers and people were able to work. And so they set up like stations to get toilet paper and paper towel. And then recently they just did a vaccination clinic where we had like 3 different sessions and over multiple weeks to get fully vaccinated. So like the support of Blizzard plus the resiliency of the team means we haven't seen like a drastic slowdown. It's just we had to be more creative, and it's been interesting, like to go from the type of place where I'm leading in front of people to all my meetings are through a camera and trying to inspire and try to work and collaborate. It's been definitely challenging, but it hasn't been like tragic in terms of how like the team's strong, and we found a way through it, so it's been good.
Well, you certainly have, and that we have a date for this, and it's, I guess, pre-orders are open now, and as you mentioned, the multiplayer beta will be in August, so we're looking forward to checking that out and seeing some more glimpses of those cinematics, which look incredible.
Yeah, we're gonna have lots more stuff to show as we work our way to launch. So I'm excited for everybody to see it, and I'm excited for everybody to play it. It's really fun. It's the authentic experience. Like right under the covers is that 2D sprite game you know and love. You press one key and you're back to 21 years ago at 800 by 600. But you can play in this
No, but
beautiful
I think
4K.
that's so cool that it proves that it is like still the same game at the core, right? And it's like,
Oh yeah, yeah. What did you hit the monster? Yes or no is coming from the original game. What loot is being dropped? What's the skill power? All that is being driven by the original game. We put a nice shiny
I
presentation
think
layer
that's
on
so
top
cool
of it.
because it's not, it's like, is it all the, even just the, is it the hits and the, I mean, the physics, for lack of a better term, was sort of like what was possible 20 years ago, which I know is not quite the physics of today, but it's like the fact that that is the root of the game is so cool that, and you guys have built on top of that. So I'm very excited to check it out, and yeah, maybe we'll go out in a boat in San Francisco to celebrate this launch or something.
Yeah, I'm down if you are,
With
Jeff.
some fancy cocktails, Rod. I know.
It's always, as long as there's a blender involved, I'm in.
All right. Well, we can't wait to see more. Thanks for stopping by, and great to see the announcement of the release date and the multiplayer beta today in the Xbox and Bethesda Game Showcase. Thanks for stopping by, Rod.
Thanks for having me. I had a good time.
Yep, see you soon.